Nothing but PvPs. You thought I was avoiding it by not casting the European Cup, but the truth is, it's always been PvP. It's that dumb astronaut meme. Alright, brand new PvP, best of 3 in the bottom left as the pink Protoss. He is Patience. In the top right, as the red Protoss, it is Hurricane.
You are doing something right, Captain.
Thank you, Trizex, for the 12-month resub. 1 year. Oh man, 1 year. Holy crap. Thank you. Ugh. Sun's starting to come up. I don't wake up early enough for the sunrise that often, but I do think the sunrise has a weirder, more nostalgic feeling than the sunset. There's this word that I learned at one point that is like nostalgia, but a little bit different in some ways. That describes like the feeling that retro wave gives me, but I forget what it was. Like if it's a borrowed French word, because of course English words, you know, we can't think of anything on our own, so we borrow other words. But anyways, that's what the sunrise gives me. I really don't know why. I guess when I was younger, you know, school actually started, especially in the winter, while the sun was still rising, so that's when you're waiting out in the bus stop. So maybe that's why. Maybe it is just like the lost feeling of childhood, which is now making this cast a little bit more serious than I intended. Thank you, Chevel, for the 3-month resub. Hello there. Hello there, Kenobi. Just a little bit of laser tag. Rogues chase each other. We got Adepts coming out from Hurricane and Stalkers from Patience. So Stalkers could go around looking for any anomalies, but there are not. There's actually none. Hurricane has all of his pylons back at home like a good boy. So does Patience. So they both are getting some fairly good scouting. You do still want to scout what pops out of the gateways if you can, but good denial from Patience on that. Hurricane didn't bother denying Patience from that information, but Patience didn't bother taking that information. So I missed that earlier. Whatever. Probably won't impact the game that much. Adepts go right after the Zelnaga. A probe very well controlled by Patience. Ditto on Hurricane. Okay, these guys are just really closely matched in really silly ways. 2 Adept follow-up, 2 Sentry follow-up from Patience. Now these Adepts, if there's 2 more after this, could be going for the Bustarino. Gonna bust the units down, gonna bust the pylon down. Goes for the Robo, so not much room, not much wiggle room in the income in the bank here for both a Nexus, a Robo, as well as 2 more Adepts in any decent amount of time. So it is going to be up into the Sentries. Transferring on over. So just the 4 Adepts. I mean, that's enough certainly to kill both Sentries here. That's enough to, I mean, maybe kill a Pylon, or rather a Shield Battery if it's not placed down fast enough. They can have a little bit more health, and it is enough to tear down 2 Stalkers, so these guys need a little bit of help. They're gonna know that. They're gonna evacuate. F that, I don't want to deal with that. With the 3rd unit being a Sentry that was popping out, I mean, like, 4 Adepts could actually kill a lot here. They can kill the Sentries, they can focus fire the Sentries, and then the Stalkers. Oh no, okay, the other Stalkers warped in. First attack used from the Sentries, not the, the Stalkers, the Sentries, so... Alright, 1... Nope, both of them died. He didn't get 3 Sentries, though. I thought he was going to get 3 Sentries. So that was a bit better than I was expecting, but I think kind of... The prophecy unfolded exactly as it was foretold. The Sentries were the dangerous thing to lose there, and that's exactly what got taken down. It's also really the only thing that could be taken down, but...
Apparently you are doing something right,
So as a question, was that worth the Adept? So there's any kind of a counterattack that could happen that could scare you, that could hurt you in return, and usually this early on in the game... Unless you also scout they're going for like a 1-base build, which would have been a real oh shit moment. No, the answers are not really. So the Adepts sacrificed for 2 Sentries. That's still a decent trade on that gas, especially. And maybe you take a little bit of time away from Hussein Phoenix. Maybe Patience has to wait a little while longer. Where the hell is his units? Oh, there they are. Waiting in the main for a potential Stargates, which is the very safe thing to do. I actually have a cannon on the way. Where did he scout? Well, I guess well, okay, yeah. I guess the thing is that Patience didn't scout. The sentries with energy were the ones that died. So now finally he has hallucination, but he had to take, I guess, threats of anything very seriously. Force field helps clean up the adepts. Oh, just kidding. Good shade out. Yeah, didn't even scout if there was a nexus or not, so he was just playing very safe. That's a little funny. Shield battery and cannon at the front lines, as we actually have a total macro game on the way. Both getting blink, both getting +1. Just a little bit of a difference in getting that warp prism or not. Hurricane also investing into Immortals, whereas Patience is only just now finishing that Robo. Thank you very much, Rotterdam, for that raid. And thank you for the resub, 35 months of being a dedicated fanboy. Thank you. Thanks, guys. It's pretty early on in the morning for me, so I'm trying to not scream and shout. But as the sun comes up, and as we get into more even matches, I'll probably get more and more excited. This is kind of our first really even match. I do think Hurricane is a better PvPer. I think I trust his decision-making a little bit more in general. But Patience, at one point, he was a pretty damn good player. He had his real highs for a while. That seems to have been, years ago at this point, though, no? Unless I'm misremembering. Time is absolutely a human concept, all right? And that just doesn't make any sense that we're already in August. It doesn't make any sense to me, but pretty sure Patience is not done super well. But what is super well? Fake Immortal's pretty cool. For me, really well is making me, round of 8 and above, but GSL, that is. But I'm sure that people might disagree. Oh, God. I'm just surprised Patience is reaching out over here, but he has so many force fields against his hoping to use it. Blink is already done for him as well. Hurricane has Blink too, but Blink only applies to Stalkers, not these sentries, these Immortals that are getting popped, not the Warp Prism that gets target fired down. Nicely done. The force field comes through, but more army has come forward for Hurricane to take on the fight. And maybe Patience has bit off more than they can chew, or maybe it's absolutely perfect. The right side Immortals go down, the left side Stalkers go down, and this one Immortal I thought was really going to anchor the defense of Hurricane. Ends up not being enough, and Hurricane is forced to completely evacuate. Ooh, almost losing another Immortal. Still loses more Stalkers, and these two Immortals of Patience have been absolute ballers. Did not go the way Hurricane was hoping it would. Now, he does have a third Nexus. They both do, and they both are transferring over into the next stage of PvP, so it doesn't look like the game is going to end, despite Patience coming out of there with the better Robo unit still intact, and slightly more workers. Actually, check the income. Damn, they don't have any income. Darn it! I didn't put Game Heart on. Anyways. It does seem that Patience got a little bit of a head start there. Ultimately, it kind of gets rounded out. Hurricane goes in Templar Archives, so he's going to be going into Charge Lot, Archon, whereas Patience has gone into what I expected, which is the Robotics Bay, and is chronoing out a couple of Disruptors now. Also adding that Dark Shrine is very important, so whose composition do I like better? Well, generally I would say the Disruptors, but Patience... there's that time where you don't have a lot of Disruptors to depend on. Just 2 right now, right? And that's possible they both get, either one gets taken out, the other one whiffs, or both of them whiff. And Hurricane is still pressuring, he's still posturing, he's still looking for an attack. Highland is a decent scout there, so Patience is in position. Had a couple shield batteries on the way too, decides to cancel them as he realizes, okay, he's not really gonna pressure. And, well, now I really like Disruptors. Okay, the point where they get to 6 or more is where I'm like, yeah, Disruptors they're supposed to be better. At that point, they just don't, there's not enough misses. to make up for that one really good hint. So I like that Hurricane's now going into Robotics Bay, but he is starting off from behind. Upgrades rather even. Hurricane's going to have the ability to make Archons, whereas, well, technically Patience does too with Dark Templars, but that's not really what he wants to do. Blink to the left is actually into another section of the army. Good sight for the War Prism to at least grab something. A couple Stalkers maybe going down too, but that was just really nice army movement from Hurricane. Collapsing it from two different sides, and Patience not choosing that third option to escape from is forced to recall after running away. And we've got 5 bases versus 5 bases. Please. Good old PvP. Yeah, they kind of recently played, actually, and Hurricane took the 2-1. That's the match, that's the series score I would expect. Patience is no slouch, but I do think Hurricane's better in PvP. So a 2-1 is what I was going to guess. That's what happened last time they faced off against each other. Cannons coming up as we get into that really complicated part of PvP, the part where you have 2 different armies, you have multiple run-bys, DT Blink comes into play. I mean, it gets kind of crazy. We saw something similar from Hurricane versus Showtime just yesterday, actually, on this exact map in the War Chest Team League, where Hurricane showcased some really excellent army movements, but Showtime, I think, really having learned from his match versus Stats, was more eager to go into that super late game, play around kind of Tempest Disruptor, and I think that was the better composition. It kind of reminded me of TVT in a way, actually, where one player went for a slower but better composition, so Liberator, Tank, Marine, right? If you add on the air superiority in TVT bio, like you have the better army. But the other guy, who's still massing Marines, has more flexibility and can try and catch you out of position and force some base trades. That was what Hurricane was doing to Showtime. So that was really fun to watch, because you could see that both had merits, even though inevitably Showtime's army took at the very last fight, took much better trades. This game, we do have both of them basically staying on the same composition. No one's headed off to a Stargate quite yet, although Patience does have a more army supply. That only ever matters so much when you talk about Disruptors. In fact, maybe Hurricane has learned something from his PvP against Showtime. Talking about that probe count. 91 workers, 92 workers for Patience. I mean, maybe this is actually the new meta, and Hurricane just didn't get to showcase it in his game versus Showtime. Showtime had 90, and Hurricane had like 70, which is still a pretty damn good probe count. But, I mean, this apparently is the way things are going to go. You get to this point, you can rely a lot more on Disruptors and not so much on having those extra 10 Zealots or 4 Archons or what have you that you would usually depend on in what, the old PvP was. The 20 extra supply of workers is going to give you a lot more bank to reinforce some of the more catastrophic shots you take in the Disruptor Wars without really taking a lot away from probably the main bulk of your army, which is Disruptors. You get 8 Disruptors, you probably don't need 10, 12, 14, 16. Probably do the same amount of damage. So you fill it up with probes, you have an insane income, because they're all expanding all over the place, and you constantly take battles. Oh my god. I saw that coming, and I had nothing else to say except, oh my god. You have insane battles that, probably aren't going to end in any one battle. That is in the old days, that would be catastrophic. You'd just be dead. You'd be dead. You'd be game over. To lose that many Disruptors, but Hurricane is going to hang on. He's got static defense to go to. He's got bases that he can afford to give up. He can reinforce one side more so with Stalkers, and while the other guy hasn't collected his army yet together, which is exactly what's happened here. Now that Patience has collected himself together, Hurricane has to once again worry about his lower Disruptor count, but now that he, puts his army in good positioning, and it's actually kind of a beautiful thing, but absolutely frustrating. And even Showtime yesterday, he went into the Discord and immediately went, my god, my hands are shaking, because it was so stressful for him. And I can see why. Disruptors will take out large chunks of those Stalkers, as well as help clear up some of that stack defense, but unfortunately Hurricane's not going to be able to defend. We got DTs going into that 5th base as well, but that is where the army is, so maybe they want to redirect. They do to the 3rd base. A lot less stack defense. It looks like maybe Hurricane saw that somewhere, somehow. He's also attacking into Patience's 5th base, and that's going to be a 3v kill there, as it would be a little bit too dangerous to recall into the might of the army, and we got ourselves a little bit of a base trade. Hurricane's still very out of position to save any of these Nexus. Stalkers are saving the right side, so it looks like some probes went down. Oh god, quite a lot of probes, but I mean enough that he's still at 75. But now we're getting to the point where the amount of Nexus could be a problem. Both of them losing 2 Nexus, it looks like. So even though Patience had more probes, well now they're dying. Even though he had more probes, they weren't really doing a whole lot, were they? All gonna be oversaturated, oh my god. Unless they can start rebuilding those Nexi. Forge is trying to be chronoed out. He wants that +1 armor, and it might just get done. I think Hurricane's focused a little more on not getting bopped by a couple disruptor shots. He's also bringing his army down from the top side. This is gonna get really weird, and oh no. Hurricane completely trapped. That bottom side is forced to recall. There are no more disruptor shots, so maybe some of the army will be able to recall. Ooh, that was very awkward. Getting caught like that did not work out in his favor. Hurricane also having much less bank. We check the resources lost. It has been going very favorable for Patience. A lot more big disruptor shots from him actually connecting. So Hurricane's loss of the Nexus does sting a little bit more. I mean, Hurricane also actually did not kill this Nexus. I thought he was going to get the Nexus, and that leaves Patience down at 76 probes, but only, you know, 1 base mining. But he saved the Nexus, so that's still 2 base mining, 2.5 base mining. He had so much bank that he replaces both Nexi and still manages to get maxed out. And Hurricane's the one a little bit desperate to get something done. 1 really good disruptor shot on the right side, but how about that left side? Nothing from Hurricane is actually here to defend. Patience is making 3 disruptors at a time, continuing his upgrades as well. And it kind of feels like Patience has just won this one out. Hurricane needs, you know, 4 disruptors over here to try and hold on, but he's not even rebuilding his disruptor count. It's at 6, which isn't bad, but it's all with his main army, I guess, or waiting. Yeah, 2 more just reinforced. Trying to build a bit more of an army that can stand toe-to-toe once disruptors are out of the equation can be a surprising way to gain a victory. And that's actually kind of what's happening. Patience, and I guess even with 6 disruptors, could miss splits and run outs of disruptors, which means that the army of Hurricane with Zealot Archon actually does better against the, oh my god, does better against the Stalker Disruptor attack when disruptors are all out of juice. But things are getting so weird. Those disruptor shots from Patience coming in actually take care of Hurricane's reinforcements. Hurricane is doing well against the non-disruptor portion of the fight with his army composition, but can he actually utilize it to push forward, to push through, push to the production? Doesn't really seem that way. I don't know. Once again, we got a little bit of a base trade. Hurricane has a decent supply. It brings, oh god, it blinks forward on top of those disruptors, but 1 still gets a really great shot. I mean, granted, it hit a couple of Patience and Stalkers as well, since he also aggressively blunk forward, but next is gonna go down once again. Disruptors have to be very careful. Only at 4 of them, they could be target fired. Nope. Patience has to blink away. It's not enough army. Here comes the rest of it, but it actually can't take on this many Archons. It needs the help of those disruptors. He needs the shots to actually connect, which so far they're having a lot of difficulty doing so as Hurricane continues to just run away. Uh-oh, those ones are going to get 2 Archons. Pretty damn good there. One's going to go for a Disruptor. And now we're down to just 3 disruptors, and once again, Hurricane finding himself very contained. A blink forward from Patience, tries to grab the disruptors, but they did just turn on him. The Archon's getting some great shots, even a Guardian Shield actually helping this late in the game. Doesn't help at all against disruptor shots, but does help against the Stalker Wars. Hurricane actually has a supply lead. He's forced once again to recall, and that means he will lose another disruptor. Good God, I can't believe Hurricane walks out of this with more supply. Like, what the fuck is happening? How is this game happening? I don't understand. I mean, that's what Hurricane was doing versus Showtime, was winning despite being less on the disruptors, not getting as many good disruptor shots. Now he's down to absolutely 0 disruptors, so this should be a problem. And yet Hurricane is trying to make something work just by having a superior army. Now I keep saying superior army, he's actually down in upgrades, missing a shield, missing an armor. But those Archons and the small amount of Zealots have really complicated the blink forwards. So I keep emphasizing, like, Patience's army is worse when it doesn't have disruptor shots. It's also a little bit scary to use disruptors against an overwhelming amount of zealots, because of course zealots are melee and you can hit your own units. So that also gets a little bit complicated, but that's kind of what Hurricane's trying to do. He's trying to complicate matters and not just let Patience bully him by staying in one place and going lol 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 disruptor. Because that was not working for Hurricane. He kept on losing his. Another awkward engagement with zealots do kind of what I was talking about. Complicate matters a little bit. Hurricane grabs one of the disruptors for it. But that's not a big army. Compared to what Patience has here, Hurricane's army is not that large. He's going to jump after the disruptors, but with an aggressive blink forward, good split away. Means that a couple of disruptors might just die. There's him using it on the zealots, so maybe the stalkers can grab the rest. Another army down to the right's killing up that nexus. As I can't even speak. This game is too flippin' wild. Patience on the left side is definitely taking the victory as he takes down. I mean, he might lose all of his disruptors. He's got one left, one very, very weak one, but the rest of his army is just a little bit too large. He's using that bank he's accrued this entire game to just overwhelm Hurricane, at least on this side of the map. But that's, you know, Hurricane actually has the greater army supply. It's just all in the wrong position. He's got so many stalkers down to the bottom right. Archon's included. Once again, a Guardian Shield that's going to help just a little bit extra. And I can't believe that Hurricane's actually brought this game back, considering all those times he did not have disruptors, considering that his income didn't actually seem to be as great as Patience, and he was losing in the resources lost. Although I think that's changed up in the last couple of minutes. It absolutely has. Hurricane even now technically winning it, but only by a couple of hundred resources. It's kind of close. It's really close, actually. Blink forward. Good split away from Patience, but the Archon's still got a couple of shots there. He's going to go after the Disruptor. Guardian Shield trying to save it. It does get focused down, but there's the, I guess, counter blink. And there is more stalkers going for the blink forward. Oh, they're going to grab an observer. And then there it is. There it is. As Patience is... There we go. Also going to blink forward. That was not great for Patience. Armor supply-wise, he is now down in armor supply by 16. It seems like we're back into minute 10 of this game. 4 base to 4 base. Actually, 4 base to 3. Patience has really lost his economy. And Patience is at the lower armor supply. I guess he just loses. Patience has 1 DT and 12 stalkers, a handful of zealots, losing more of his probes. Hurricane, absolute god in this matchup, has managed to win out this game, and he just used his army really well. I just can't even believe it. Like, I know how he did it technically, but I'm gonna say I don't even know how. Like, I know how, but the only way I can explain my surprise and being flabbergasted is saying I don't know how. And it's actually not even over. Patience grabs a very weak nexus, putting them both down to basically no mining, as Hurricane doesn't have anything mining here. His probes are on the run. They could maybe try and attack in a feeble attempt to help. Or just die. There you go. But Archon's, Archon's is the real kicker, I feel. Every time Patience thought he had a moment where his disruptors had bullied Hurricane into submission, the Archons survive. You know, they survive a disruptor shot, one of the units that can. And blinking aggressively into them, or using your own zealots against them, doesn't work out. That's exactly what they're good against. They can take a couple of shots, and they can dish out quite a bit, especially when you consider that their splash is effective. It's not Colossus Splash, it's not Disruptor Splash, but it is Splash, so... yeah, Patience is dead, man. Unless Hurricane taps out because he misunderstands the game, which I don't think he does. Yeah, I don't see Patience winning. An aggressive blink forward from Hurricane kind of captures Patience's stalkers. He doesn't even really need the Archons to go down to pure stalker versus pure stalker. They certainly help, though. They're forcing Patience to use blinks not in a micro battle sense, but rather in a get the fuck away sense. Which means that Hurricane is constantly bullying Patience. If it was straight up stalker to stalker, like absolutely just 11 stalkers to 11 stalkers, if that was what we're down to, Patience would win that because he has better upgrades. But it's not quite that simple. Even a Sentry providing a Guardian Shield every now and again. Patience has no mining and is trying to micro his way through this. And, well, damn if he isn't trying really, really well. But he's also lost the income war at this point. Way to go, buddy. Way to go, Probe. You are winning the income war. And now it is Hurricane capturing the production line. That doesn't really matter. I think more importantly, just capture the high ground. So Patience can only micro so much, but I cannot believe that Patience is trying to do this. Patience, what are you doing, my dude? Hurricane even is like, get the fuck out. I presume it's all in good fun. Patience had a DT at one point, but it is gone, so the observer surviving doesn't really matter. No, I mean, there's no way that Patience chips away enough at Hurricane's army. But he was absolutely in a golden position. He had 6 bases at one point. During that little base trade, he had gotten the middle left taken. So even as he lost 2 Nexus, he was still mining very reliably from 2, and the difference was, as his economy collapsed, Hurricane was starting to take better trades as well, so we did end up having a very tipping of the scales, right? Like, but at one point, Patience was definitely winning this game. God, Patience. Ugh. I respect, but now Hurricane's just like, F you, man, we're going forward. Which actually loses him quite a few stalkers, but GG. What an amazing game. Fantastic game. Eternal Empire continuing to give us some very good late game matchups, but PvP continuing to evolve and give us some crazy yakety sacks games. I love it. Oh, God. The official Starcraft esports Twitter account, or the official Starcraft account. The official Starcraft account announced the War Chest Team League 1 day late. Ice and Chrome into the large map is going to be the second game. I'm going to grab some water. All right. Patience versus Hurricane. What a game 1. Can only hope game 2 lives up to it. Oh, okay. This time, Patience actually sending out a probe for something a little bit sketchier. In the bottom left, down 1 after an amazing game 1. He is Patience. And in the top right of Ice and Chrome, we have Hurricane. So Patience set out his probe pretty early on Everdream, but then only used it to patrol and build a pylon. And I was like, that doesn't seem right, but okay. You know, I'm not the pro here. Now he sends it out and actually sends it out. And this early on, it's going to be proxy gateways. So, Patience. I mean, you could say he had patience last game because he stayed in the game for so long, but I definitely attribute that to stubbornness. This game, he is proving he has no patience. Thank you, Lebo, for the 8-month resub. Whoop, whoop. But this game should be over one way or another very quickly. Very few Protoss players scout quickly enough to see this. If maybe you scouted after your first gateway, you would be like, okay, I know what this is, in time to react to it. But if you scout after your second gateway, I think it's a little more questionable. Although I suppose it would also matter if this was like submarine as opposed to ice and chrome, but like a 5-second difference. Actually, yeah, if it was submarine, he would definitely scout this. I mean, it's kind of weird though, isn't it? Like, he would scout this so much faster and be like, oh, okay, this is what it is. But I guess regardless of the map, unless you do the fastest probe scout really possible, you're already going to be dedicated to the opener, right? You're already going to dedicate to a second gateway, certain for the time that it is. And you have to wait for that to really get anything juicy. You have to wait for the 7x4 to get shield batteries, to get adepts, to get stalkers. So it does seem that Hurricane still gets a pretty well-timed scout. The fact that he scouts at all makes it well-timed. Seeing no gateway, he's gotta know it's proxied, so. Adepts, they just come out a little bit faster because they're a little bit cheaper, which also means that like, he had plenty of income to build whatever he wanted from these 2 gateways. It's more like, well, I also have to build a 3rd gateway or a robo, whatever he wanted to do. And a shield battery also, right? Like, you're thinking about the cost of other things besides just your production. Also thinking about making sure to not lose this pylon early on. So if this goes down, you lose production, it could be a very silly way to lose the game. So backup pylon's ready, shield battery still able to be placed in position, and Patience's build does not work out very well. It seems like if you scout at all, if you scout maybe after 7x core, maybe it's too late to do something, but again, Hurricane he really barely did anything different. Although he misses this shield battery, and that kind of sucks. That kind of sucks. So Patience, it doesn't seem like he's that bothered by this. Like, he only proxied 1 gateway. I feel like he's even comfortable with how this went, although the follow-up is typical PvP confusion. I just don't understand it. Anyways, like, 1 gateway didn't seem like it was going to do a whole lot. It was literally 1 gateway. No second gateway proxied, no second gateway at home, literally 1 gateway. It seems like the idea was that Hurricane would play defensive, thinking, okay, maybe it's only 1 gateway. Well, he scouts this, right? So he scouts this and goes, oh my god, there's 2 gateways or 3 gateways somewhere out there that I don't know about. And then he sees that it's 1 gateway and goes, oh, wait a second, like, I don't have to worry about that much. But by the time he goes, oh, I don't have to worry about it that much, he's already invested a lot into the defense. But then the other thing is that, like, okay, say that that's what happens. Like, exactly what happened. Hurricane goes, oh, wait a second, I'm okay here. You get a robo against early shenanigans anyways, because a robo is the safest thing you can do. You can get immortals, you can get an observer, and if you go, oh, I don't have to worry anymore, you can also get a warp prism. And now I'm like, well, if Hurricane just goes across the map at any point, would Patience have been screwed? And is that why he has to go into an Oracle to continue keeping Hurricane back at home? And I just, oh god, PvP is such a... Oh, I can't even, I don't even... I mean, it is actually, the Stargate response is good. I've actually, like, that makes sense. It makes sense. Apparently Patience has done this and knows that a Stargate opener makes sense. The Oracle keeps the army back, although this one was not a very good Oracle, it's still alive. Keeps the army back, keeps the Stalkers back at the very least, or forces you to build shield batteries, which it is a early game. It's a little uncomfortable to do. And you can build Phoenix from it. So if they do go, oh wait, I don't have to worry, I'm just going to attack you, like, F you for doing this, your production is lower than mine actually, like, I'm just going to go across the map. You can build a Phoenix, or even a Void Ray actually, and try and push that back. Which, he did build a Phoenix to help push it back. While also grabbing this robo. Right, well, also grabbing this robo means that Patience has access to an observer, but more importantly, has access to building up his own immortal count. And apparently this game just continues on. Apparently. If Patience was blind countering a Nexus first, I would have expected it on a different map. But Nexus firsts and Nexus after single gateway have been more popular lately. Well, this did not go as planned. It wasn't terrible, though. I'm not gonna say that it was terrible. Patience's Oracle gets a stasis trap, denies some gas mining. His Phoenix dies. but at least he knew his War Prism was going to survive. And that it did with the Immortals. Hussein Colossus comes out. Adepts try and go into the main, not going to work out. Alright, Adepts get blocked out very well by a Force Field. They actually didn't shoot any shots. And the Colossus, while initially horrifying, very quickly determined to be a hallucination. That doesn't stop the units from attacking it, but so far, so good. Units not attacking the Colossus, just trying to deal with the army. Some Force Fields go down from Patience that are really complicating the issue, and actually good focus fire on one Immortal. As we pulled back from Hurricane, but then Ditto on Hurricane's side, focus fire the Immortal of Patience, and also got some damage on that Warp Prism, so Patience is forced to retreat. What a fight. Lots of non-action in that fight. Lots of units that weren't fighting, or one big unit that was just a hallucination anyways. What a game. What a game. Double Immortal drop back into the main base. Not much that Hurricane can do against this. He doesn't have his own Stargate to stop it. And it's unlikely that he would have Blink soon. He does actually have a Twilight Council, but it's not Blink, it's being researched. It's Resonant Enclaves. So... War Prism harassment's going to continue to be obnoxious. Oracle harassment even getting back in there. Gets 3 more probes. Interesting. So now the question is, does Patience know about the Resonant Enclaves? This could very easily be Blink, but there is a Forge missing. So regardless of what's coming out of that Twilight Council, that would be suspicious. Patience goes back in with the Oracle? What was that? Oh, a couple of mortal shots. Does Patience know that there's an attack on the way? Patience is going to get his own Resonant Enclaves. But obviously, Hurricane's a lot faster. It's so similar. 6 gateways to 4. With Hurricane actually being lower. Oh no, breaches aren't changed over yet. Okay, there we go. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Alright, there we go. So, Hurricane has a bit more production right now. The Patience going for very similar compositions. Even recalls the Oracle back home, it seems. It could help a little bit. He has to wall right now, and ooh, that wall is wide open. Oh no, he's gonna shade to block out the shades, or at the very least, just deal with the Adept on the high ground. Force Field coming down from Hurricane are looking very, very deadly. Actually, those are pretty good. That just blocked out the entire army, so the shield battery goes down. The Nexus will be focus fired, but there's some more Force Fields to pop the Immortals forward. Good pickup micro from Patience to hold on so far, but his Resonant Enclaves is not done, so his Adepts are just inferior to Hurricane's. I think Hurricane has got this. That is 6 wait, when the hell did Patience get 6 Immortals? What the hell? Okay, now he's on a 4, but oh my god, that's actually a lot of firepower. They aren't the best against Adepts, but they last a very long time, especially because they're being microed. So another round of Adepts from Patience come in here. Resonant Enclaves is finally down for him, and Patience, oh my god, I think he's actually holding. His armor supply looking better than his opponent's. Despite being down 15 workers, he is going to hold on to this game. Oh my god. Oh, okay. But good micro there from Hurricane to take out the Oracle, I think that's what it was. Nothing to attack up, so this Observer is alive. Hurricane's like, well, aren't you dead anyways? This Hurricane has so many more probes than him, but Patience does not want to give up. We learned that last game. There are so many things to consider in PvP. It's always been the case, so that's like just one of the frustrating things about PvP, is that there are so many things to consider, even with the quote-unquote perfect scouting that hallucinations have brought to the matchup. We've actually gotten to make things more complicated, you know? But now, you have even more things to worry about, including some people going Nexus first, so that's kind of like a put as a goal thing, isn't it? But certainly like Gateway, then Nexus, like that has also been brought into PvP. And you still have to worry about all those old things, like a 2-base Adept attack. Which, I guess is gonna stay in Starcraft 2 for the rest of its life. You know, it's never gonna go away. Adepts will always have the potency of a 2-base all-in. Patience is going to return the favor with his own attack. Hurricane is actually invested into a lot of things that aren't helpful very much so right now. Got Blink and +1 on the way, but things he has invested into that are very helpful. Cannons and shield batteries and overcharge on the back lines. I think Hurricane has got enough. His armor supply was lower before the start of this fight, but not by very much. And then his shield batteries all being well protected, something that Patience did not do, has really, I think, changed up the dynamic. Like, Hurricane might have had to cancel his Nexus, but Patience doesn't have anything on the way. No Blink, no +1. He's not getting into the probe line. He's trying to micro and cause something here, something to happen. He's going to go after the probe line in the natural. That will be the loss of a lot of Adepts. You got to shade out immediately. Well, I mean, maybe? No? No, I don't think so. I mean, maybe? Hold on here. No. Patience powers 3 gateways and a robo. Has a lot of Adepts, again, being shaded into the and out of the natural, I should say. What are you doing, little guy? What are you doing, little guy? No. No. Patience can't win this one. Patience didn't even really rebuild his probes. He's finally getting back to it, but... I doubted myself there. I saw a lot of things happen, and I was like, no. And I was right, but he made me question myself. Blink is done, +1 is done. I guess, funnily enough, Hurricane can't quite afford to start up a Stalker army. Being a little more expensive than the Adepts. That's going to be a composition change. Oh, no, there you go. Just kidding. He already has a lot of Stalkers. Alright, that's it. GG. Alright. GG. Hurricane with a 2-0. Takes out Patience and advances on.